Beep, 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 beep. Morning all. Some wag in the comments yesterday, cheeky bugger, right, told me that I slurp. And my slurping is off-putting, so I'm going to try not to slurp, okay? It's just that talking sometimes for a while, you have to get the old throat lubricated, don't you? So apologies for my slurping. You're demanding, you lot. You are demanding, do you know that? Look at this glorious morning. Look at the colour of that sky. I love this time of day. It's early, obviously, because it's me, right? So I said yesterday that I was in a situation where I had things I wanted to put down, but didn't get to do it. Right? You remember I said they're throwing things at us and they're so good, it's just blah, 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 all the usual rubbish I talk about. Anyway, so last night I was lying in bed, I was sleeping, and then all of a sudden, boom, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, okay. Feeling guilty about the fact that I'd not produced anything of any real original worth lately. So I'm sat there mulling. I think, well, I'll just have another bit more of a doze, and an hour later I'm still mulling. So I got up and wrote something. And I thought, I put it on the Substack, so you can read it on there if you prefer to read it, because I'm just going to read it out. I thought, when I was thinking about what I've written, it's been written down and just done in the last, God knows, about 45 minutes to an hour. I've not really looked at it more than in any detail, and I'm sure that lots of errors will come up as we go, but I was just mulling, and sometimes it's nice to do that, Warrior teachers do this. They mull over things and write them down. That's what I hope they do, because that's what you should do, write. You need to write, all of us. We need to write. No matter if you write 200 words a day, just write. Okay, because it helps with your thinking, and the one thing we need in this fight is clear thinking. I slurped. Forgive me. Right. So here's what I've written, and we'll go through it, and I'll sort of stop and moan about things occasionally in between, but let's have a go, shall we? So, get a cup of tea, pull up. Hi all, and sundry, I've written here. I use that greeting for a specific reason, as it has by now become a minefield to simply say ladies and gentlemen, as if in some way this is heretical. So you get all and sundry, an approach that addresses you as if you were items in a stationery cupboard, and ladies and gentlemen is the new normal. That's where we are with all this, isn't it? You're now items in a stationery cupboard, all and sundry. Your items in a stationery cupboard, right? So let's talk for a brief bit here, because this is entitled EDI, what's the bloody point, effectively, yeah? So the definition of EDI has been stretched to its limits, I think. I'm not even convinced that anybody knows what it's about anymore, and I mean, that's a crash generalisation, but it's a starting point. And bleakly, if you want to do this bleakly, which I will, I'll do it bleakly while you bang me on the bottom with a Woman's Weekly. I'll do it bleakly. The whole thing's cobblers, right? So I'm a curmudgeon, I'm cynical at that, all right, okay, and I just will not remain silent in the face of what in essence is a load of nonsense. It's become about other things. So equality, diversity and inclusion is now about sandwiches, gay ones in Marks and Spencer's. You get like, it's the bacon, lettuce and tomato sandwich that was gay. What was it they put together? All sorts of nonsense things just so they could make the acronym gay work with the vile sandwich they'd packaged in the bloody awful progress flag. So that's what it's become, essentially, hasn't it? Yeah. Which, or as I was thinking about it last night, it's like haute couture, high fashion, and much of this shite has the price tag to go with it, as we know from the 211 grand being paid by some bunch of idiots to another idiot to do equality, diversity, and inclusion. These days, it's all about pronouns in your emails. A lanyard or a mug, and pricey bureaucratic czars who pontificate endlessly about nonsense and tie up workers in ridiculous and nebulous training activities that have no other purpose than to foist upon them the murderous idea of equality of outcome. This comes complete with the Maoist rituals of shaming and the communist punishments in the shape of social gulags, where heretics and unbelievers can be shuffled along the virtual train tracks of the social media landscape. We now have days for just about everything. Celebrations of religious festivals, International Women's Day. Didn't we have Aero Week the other week? Aero Week. I thought it was about chocolate. Apparently it's not. It's about people that don't have sex. What's wrong with these people? Right? We now have days for just about everything. Celebrations of religious festivals. Actually, I'm a person who doesn't have sex. Stop. Forget that. I didn't. Cut. Right? We now have days for just about everything. Celebrations of religious rituals, festivals. God forbid, though, we have International Women's Day, but as Jermaine Greer pointed out, the pie gets a week. So women get a day, steak and kidney gets a week. It's a man's world. We have a multitude of awards on offer, masses of conferences and meetings, rainbow lanyards, a flag for every splinter group you can imagine, and so many group names that the average person just gives up on LGBTQ plus Hansleys and bums a daisy. I mean, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool fan of the male form, and even I've given up on it. So there you go, that tells you a lot. This begs the question, have we not outsourced the responsibility for what EDI was supposed to require of us as individuals to corporates, HR departments, public sector bodies and administrators, and we have done so gladly as the potato got hotter? I would like £1 for every time I heard someone say, I just go along with it. I just go along with it. Has it not become rife with division, animosity, and in some cases downright aggressive behaviour? That's what we're seeing. Passive aggressive, Your job will be at risk if you don't go in and, suck the critical social justice knob. It's all that, isn't it? A vociferous media twists and amplifies divisive voices in an arena that should be about the celebration of difference, rooted in our basic human commonalities. There is an irony about the idea that exponents of EDI seem to think it is okay to pick and choose the EDI that they wish to endorse. It's almost as if it's a disguised selection process for the worthy and the unworthy, based, of course, on power and oppression narratives, so beloved of these nutcases. EDI is deconstructing all we know, including the deconstruction of the way of life in the UK, challenging such things as the importance of the individual, equality of opportunity, meritocracy, and the strength of personal responsibility. Voices of dissent in this arena are the ones being silenced when we need them the most. The voice of individuals who do not succumb to either the collectivist madness of the lunatic left, nor the isolationist insanity of the neoliberal and its collectivist ideological derangement. This attack requires us to look back and question the foundations that many have built their understanding of the world upon. This is an individual issue to me, however. Amongst other things, I'm forced to ask the question, what is it to be me? As you can see, I'm doing the philosophicals this morning, and if you join me halfway through, so far I've talked nonsense about EDI, right? I'm going to slurp, so close your ears or look away. And now I'm going to puff, and then we'll continue. Right. So I was musing on this idea, what is it to be me? Which is, it's a question worth answering. What is it to be me? Apart from to be, old. Oldish. Aging. What is it to be me? Right, okay, so, and this is what I came up with, right, when I was off in my muse. I went and had a look. What does it mean to be me? So I'm Googling away and thinking about, important men, important sayings, important people. The saying goes, here we go, that no man is an island. A quote from the rather observant English metaphysical poet John Donne, Deacon of St Paul's, I think. Yes, he was, Deacon of St Paul's, a clergyman, a religious man, who wrote the now famous quotation during a bout of sickness in 1624. Interestingly, he also coined the phrase, for whom the bell tolls. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less. As well as if promontory were, as well as the manner of thy friends or of thine own were, any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Is Donne calling for us to recognise that we are by nature a collaborative endeavour as a collective whole? That the loss of one is a loss for humanity, the loss of possibility, of collective potentiality, the collective here being us as humanity, and not the insipid and divisive collectivism of identitarian despots. To him, this great loss is a damage to us all. The individual is important. Bearing in mind that the occurrences of death 400 years ago during the time of John Donne would have been frequent, often messy, and certainly nothing like the modern relationship we have with death today, then I must capitulate to his words to a great degree and recognise it is possible that he understood far clearer than I how death affects us in the round. With death so ever present and the human survival instinct working at full speed against a ravaging and cruel reality, his understanding of human nature provides us with an insight into a thoughtful man in desperate times, as well as into the human spirit at its best. So when I consider myself in light of the two quotes of No Man is an Island and ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee, I acquiesce to the simplistic notion of this on a humanitarian and collective humanity front, but recognise that hidden within these words are ideas that can lead us to be better people, an idea that increases our potential for collaboration. How did Donne mean these words to be heard through antiquity, I wonder? I like the idea that it was written as a devotion. This is a plea, a call to arms for a better world than he feared he was leaving at the time. Despite what I believe to be the societal misuse of the quote, No Man is an Island, often used to describe someone who perseveres alone or is seen as reticent or antisocial, or when the quote is used at times to scold those who may undertake what are or what appear to be selfish actions. The plea, No Man is an Island, can only be fully realised when taken in conjunction with, ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. For these two together are a call for each of us to recognise our importance as an individual, and how our collective endeavours as humanity can be enriched by the labour of individuals, by the inner battle they face, and what they bring to the world from it before the final funeral bell tolls for us. It is a call to be our best. In this devotional script, Donne calls for the recognition of the responsibility that the individual owes to our collective humanity, which is achieved through awareness of one's own frailty, the inevitability of death, and the importance of the individual and the obligation that lies within them to bring something to the party. Reading Donne, a devout man and Dean of St. Paul's Cathedral, reveals to me that religion as educational in manifestation is not just a harvester of history, but also a harbinger of the future. That through the beauty of the art, poetic literature, and ambiguity of religion's cultural footprint, we are able to glimpse not just the work of the divine, but also the tragedy of religion's earthly expressions, which have, and still do, bring so much pain to so many. It manifests in darker ways. Consider the ridiculous and damaging notions of lived experience and own truth. Could there be any clearer proof that man, at least sometimes, and for some at all times, does indeed think he's an island? But that is deceptive, for people don't mean it's my own truth. They mean it's my own dogma, attempting without the need for any kind of discourse or conversation to eschew and eliminate the word opinion from any subsequent conversation. And by doing so nullify any objection to the increasingly insane demands of narcissistic and controlling individuals who in all cases seem to be strangely connected to some lunatic collective. The Borg in action. EDI has become cultish. It is the religion of the new era. It is the sparrows from Game of Thrones, and with all the public shaming that comes with it. In the Sauron-like gaze of this new religion, we have become data. What we produce, disseminate and send into the public sphere no longer does what we would expect it to do and can be manipulated and twisted to ideological ends. We virtually become artifacts, fodder available for ever-changing, a process of reiteration over which we have no control, altered, remade and redefined in an orgy of mimetic drift and misrepresentation that historically would have taken years and forgotten reality to occur, but can now happen in seconds. This is the essence, that what we put out there goes wrong, that what we put out there is changed. It is meaned by others, it is added to, the meaning changes, and it does so far faster than it ever has done before. And that is a danger we need to be aware of. For if that works, if they are able to do that, if it's true that this kind of mimetic drift happens, this leaves us in the hands of knaves and fools, especially those with no depth of thought or the true mining instinct of curiosity. If EDI is such a force for good, which it is not, then when we are proudly presenting our EDI credentials, lanyard of the week, we become walking marketing for a vile ideology. In essence, we are simply the fools of the collectively foolish, and I, for one, will not play ball. So I will end with Kipling, which is sure to upset some critical social justice little Hitler. But my, what words these are. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated. Don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat these two impostors just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build 'em up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.